Hello everyone, I'm Minoo Goodarzi. Welcome to my presentation. In this presentation, we are talking about two most interesting laws in Singapore that Canadian firms thinking of their operations must consider. First law is double taxation avoidance agreements. Double taxation avoidance agreements are mutual agreements signed between countries to prevent double taxations of income in one country by the residents of another country. These agreements aim to promote cross-border trade and investment by providing clarity on tax obligations and eliminating or reducing instances where income is subject to taxation in both countries. The Singapore-Canada Double Taxation Agreement is an important agreement that Singapore has with Canada to prevent double taxation and determine tax rights. It covers various types of income, including business profits, dividends, interest, royalties, and capital gains. The DTA ensures that income is not taxed twice in both countries and providing relief to taxpayers. And it establishes rules and mechanisms to allocate taxing rights and prevent tax evasion. Singapore signed the first double taxation agreement with Canada in 1976 in order to increase economic cooperation and provide for new advantages, tax conditions to Canadian and Singapore companies. The two states amended their convention in 2011 and then enforced in 2012. The income tax in Singapore and the income tax in Canada are covered by the Singapore-Canada double taxation. Going to talk about the key aspects of relationship between DTA and Canadian firms operating in Singapore. The first aspect is avoidance of double taxation. As we previously mentioned, the DTA ensures that Canadian firms operating in Singapore are not taxed on the same income in both countries. The agreement typically provides mechanisms and methods for eliminating or reducing double taxation, either by exemption, granting tax credits, or allowing for the dedication of taxes paid in the other country. The other aspect is taxation of business profits. The PTA determines how business profits are taxed in each country. It usually allocates taxing rights based on the location of the permanent establishment or PE or fixed place of business. For example, if a Canadian firm has a PE in Singapore, the profits attributable to that PE will generally be taxed in Singapore. It's related to dividends, interest, and royalties. The Singapore-Canada DTA outlines the rates of withholding tax imposed on dividends, interest, and royalties exchanged between entities in both countries. This agreement has the potential to lower or remove withholding taxes, creating advantages conditions for Canadian firms engaged in cross-border transactions. And the other aspect is related to capital gain. The Singapore-Canada DTA covers the taxation of capital gains resulting from the sale of assets like shares or real estate. In general, capital gains from sales of movable properties such as shares are subject to tax only in the seller's country of residence, unless the property's value is primarily based on real estate located in the other country. The other aspect is related to dispute resolution. Singapore-Canada DTA incorporates mechanisms to address and resolve disputes between the tax authorities of both countries. These provisions facilitate the resolution of any double taxation concerns or disagreements regarding the interpretation of agreements through mutual agreement procedures. Now let's talk about the benefits of DTAs between Singapore and Canada. The primary goal of DTA is to establish clarity and predictability regarding the imposition of taxes in the country where income is generated or payments are made. It explicitly determines the jurisdictional authority in cross-border transactional and outlines the specific taxing rights of each country involved. Its purpose is to prevent international tax evasion by facilitating the exchange of information between the tax authorities of the country involved. Additionally, it enables individuals and businesses to seek relief for taxes already paid in foreign jurisdictions. As a result, having a comprehensive understanding of provisions outlined in the Singapore-Canada DTA is crucial for Canadian firms conducting business in Singapore. This understanding allows them to effectively handle their tax responsibilities, prevent double taxation, and maximize the efficiency of their operations in both countries. The second law that I'm going to talk about is Competition Act. Singapore's political and economic structure revolves around the concept of robust competitive market. The nation acknowledges the importance of maintaining fairness and transparency in market operations. To ensure this, Singapore has implemented stringent laws that require market participants to refrain from engaging in anti-competitive practices that could adversely affect consumers or other businesses. The introduction of Competitor Act serves the purpose of fostering efficiency in the Singaporean market by prohibiting anti-competitive business practices, ultimately striving for reduced costs and improved products for consumers. The Act adopts an outcome-based approach focusing on the economic impact of a conduct rather than the conduct itself. It does so by focusing on the three areas including anti-competitive agreements, decisions, or practices, Section 34, abuse of a dominant market position, Section 47, and mergers resulting in a substantial lessening of competition in the marketplace, Section 54. Schedule 3 of the Competition Act exempts certain sectors from the provisions of Section 34 and Section 47, as these sectors are governed by specific sectoral regulations. These sectors include broadcasting and media, telecommunications, electricity and gas, auxiliary police, wastewater management services, public transport, and cargo terminal operations, clearing houses, and postal service. We should note that the law is enforced by Competition and Consumer Commission of Singapore, or in abbreviation CCCS. The key features of competition law in Singapore include prohibition of anti-competitive agreements. It means that the Competition Act forbids agreements or actions that aim to hinder, limit, or distort competition within the country. Such prohibited activities include price fixing, bid rigging, market sharing, and collusion among competitors. The other feature is abuse of dominant position. It means that the Act in Singapore prohibits companies from abusing their dominant market position, which is determined by having significant market power. Abusive conduct includes practices such as predatory pricing, exclusive dealing, trying and bundling, and discriminatory practices. Merger control is another aspect of Competition Act. Under the Competition Act, companies are obligated to inform the CCCS if their merger, acquisition, or joint venture surpasses specific threshold. The CCCS assesses these transactions to ensure they do not significantly reduce the competition within Singapore. Investigations and enforcement also is another aspect. The CCCS has the authority to investigate suspected anti-competitive activities which may involve conducting a surprise inspection, collective evidence, and imposing penalties. In cases of infringement, the CCCS levy fines, issue directives, or initiate other suitable enforcement measures. Leniency program is another aspect of competition law. Actually, the CCCS offers a leniency program granting companies involved in anti-competitive behavior the opportunity to receive reduced penalties or immunity from prosecution if they cooperate during investigations. Market studies and advocacy is another aspect. Additionally, the CCCS conducts market studies to identify competition concerns and engages in competition advocacy, making recommendations for policy and regulatory improvement to enhance competition and consumer welfare. And the last aspect is consumer protection. The CCCS safeguards consumer protection by addressing unfair trade practices, misleading advertising, and unfair contract terms alongside its primary focus on competition matters. So it is crucial for Canadian firms to adapt to the specific requirements and regulations of the jurisdictions in which they operate, such as Singapore Competition Act, to ensure compliance and foster fair competition in the market. Thank you for your attention. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know.